Hi everyone. So this is almost week 10, or you're preparing for week 10 for the final presentations, final projects. So as you're working towards your original creation, I want to kind of share some thoughts and some ideas. And also I know that some of you had questions about, how specific the instructions for the final project are. Um, and this is really an open, I wouldn't say open-ended, but it's an open project in the sense that it's really driven by your creativity. But still, kind of to summarize some of the materials, give maybe some ideas or inspirations. I prepared a quick slideshow that I'll kind of share with you right now. And we can kind of discuss and see how how these ideas might be of relevance. So yeah, I'm trying to run this as a presentation. So kind of the final project, some tips and tools. And the idea is that the creative process, of course, is something which not only very flexible, but every case is slightly different. Every inspiration is different. Every expression is particular. But kind of trying to establish some practices or give you some sort of a structure. Some tips could be basically to start maybe with the sounds themselves. Play with your noise or music making tools, which will give you kind of that sound inspiration, the possibilities, or like the palette of sounds that you can then kind of touch base, and it'll be your basically jumping board towards further exploration of these ideas. And now, of course, kind of in a very broad way, we discussed, that sound or music or anything could be used for creation, but I would say defining your frame of possibly stylistic framework, some cultural conventions, and this context and the feel or purpose of the composition could be, the next step, or maybe it goes basically iteratively between, thinking about the sounds and thinking about what you can say with them. And then as you think about organizing sounds, and we have had several experiments and exercises where you were actually supposed to create a form, right? We had sound walks, we had sound painting. You actually had to create like a sequence of events that tell a story in some, could be very abstract sense. But this would be kind of the framework you work with. And then once you start basically putting things together by experimenting, editing, improving, and of course, don't forget to throw away. I mean, some people say that, some composers say that, the eraser or the dustbin is one of the most important tools. So you shouldn't be afraid to suggest ideas, and shouldn't be afraid to rule them out. And then, with this process of iterations between thinking about what sounds you use, what is the purpose of these sounds, how you basically put them together, and trial and error, and then having your musical sketch, eventually will combine into something that you're happy with, has a meaningful representation of your ideas, and then you should be able to do them. So, these tips could be guideline for working towards your final project. So what are the noise making tools? Basically, it could be anything. I put pots and pans because actually one of the nicknames of the Music 5 course historically was that's making music by banging on pots and pans. But the idea is that you can use anything to create your sounds. You can record sounds of the environment, use your voice, use extended techniques, which means like vocalizations, which you're not singing or speaking, and musical instruments, instruments in the browser, some AI tools that I'll mention, And of course, you use your digital audio workstation, and in our case, we're not using very sophisticated tools, but I mean, if anybody has them, please feel free to use them. But audio editor like Audacity is definitely your tool of trade. So instruments in the browser, actually, I do mention them in one of the classes, one of the, I think, videos about um, making noise. Here are some links, like the musicalectronexperiments.com has a lot of possible tools that allow you basically kind of to use your mouse and paint or click on buttons and create sounds. Sampulator, Pixel Synth, which really creates these like elaborate structures and kind of inspired by some of the work of Xenakis. Acid Machine, Modular Grid. Basically, if you search for making music in the browser, I'm sure you can find more and more updated examples. But this is one way to exploit the power of the software that is out there without really installing it, and help you basically enrich your musical vocabulary or ideas. Now, talking about stylistic frameworks, we mentioned some very different approaches to sound throughout class. So we spoke about, we did soundscapes and sound walks, so sound ecology, documenting your sound environment. And we spoke about futurism, the role of noise or intoners, instruments that make noises, so electronic sounds as well, glitch, microsound, remix, mashups, and other algorithms. So defining your sound world and the formal kind of approach to sounds is really that second step that I suggested. And of course, you can come up with your own framework, which would be, maybe one of the more challenging and interesting aspects of the project you could do. So that's kind of a reminder, Mouse and Mars, Glitch, Bjork, Oval, the Systemish, basically, these kinds of, slight microsound noises and corruptions, basically the aesthetics of failure. Article that we discussed, but of course you can have other ideas. And we spoke about remix theory and aesthetics of sampling, and basically, okay, I mean the videos are all on YouTube. I have to click them, but they're shown on the slides of the appropriate class. So we spoke about, Walter Murphy's the Fifth of Beethoven, which was kind of a rendering of a classical piece with very popular kind of beat-based music and synthesizers. DJ Earworm did quite a bit of mashup examples, Fatboy Slim. So if somebody wants to work with a mashup, basically cut parts and pieces of existing music and match them in terms of beat and tonality, and doesn't have to be the whole piece. You can do parts of mashups, and parts could be other styles. But these are things that we kind of mentioned in the class. Now, speaking about AI tools, also towards the end of the class, we mentioned the research that is being done on artificial intelligence in music, and Magenta by Google is a good resource for instruments that some of them exist in the browser. Others you can actually download and use as plugins in your digital audio workstation. And there are many more AI tools for composition. There's just a selection of some, like Amper Music, which actually produced quite a few songs that were recorded and became pretty popular. Aiva, Boomi, Infinite Album, and there are many more. So there are actually quite a few apps that exist only on the phone that also allow you kind of to create music on the go. So these could be all tools that you could use. And the final kind of thing to mention are the rubrics which exist. So I don't know if you can read, it's a small font that I just grab the screen from the rubrics in the final project. But I would like kind of just to mention and bring this to your attention that please read them. We kind of use three main rubrics for evaluating the musical piece, which would be originality, complexity, and well-formedness, and then a separate rubric which is a write-up. So just speaking about how we can evaluate originality, of course, it's very hard to define really what's original, but I would say very broadly, this is novelty, some kind of novel form of expression, but that has to be meaningful. And when I try kind of to formalize the different ratings, I try to explain what I mean by novelty and meaningful novelty. Complexity, again, complexity could be actually in simplicity. If you have some idea which is a void and creates tension, and there is something going on, complexity usually we consider about like the number of parts, how much you put into some piece that you create. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have a lot of elements. So in the rubrics, I actually mentioned complexity can be one of the execution aspect. So the number of elements, the number of instruments, density of notes and stuff like that. Or it could be complexity of the idea. So this is something that makes you think and brings a lot of associations and a lot of thoughts around this kind of sophistication of content, and non-trivial thinking is also something that we appreciate. And finally, when you put everything together, there should be kind of a sense of coherence, clarity, and putting this into something that creates a structure. So not just arbitrary juxtapositions of musical elements. Now, how do we know this is meaningful or not? It's really important to have a good write-up, because we encourage to have original way of creating your work. We are not here trying to conform to any type of musical style. And of course, the techniques, we explored so many different styles and techniques that we're not expecting somebody, to be doing in a particular style that has a clear, right or wrong. So to understand what you try to do, you should be basically, I would say, in appreciation to our effort to grade and evaluate the works, we would basically are asking to have a well-explained documentation of what you did. I think this is kind of a very brief tips and tools, or tips and, well, not really tricks, but tips and tools for approaching your final project. And I think for the programmers, really, this is beyond what we kind of cover in this class. But if there are people who want to look into, and there is so much going on in this field of AI music, some of these links, and there are many more, but that requires you to actually be able to run usually Python programs, and to basically either use pre-trained or train your own musical neural networks that generate music. So I think that's this is kind of my quick presentation about ideas and ways to approach your project. And I'm looking forward to listening to your works, reading about them, and good luck with with your final here, and of course any other finals that you have this quarter. So thanks and good luck. Bye-bye.